Hello guys, welcome back to the shop. It's been a while since I've done this. It's been a busy couple of weeks for me. I'm going to go turn off those lights behind me and be right back. There we go, that's better. So, starting with my tool tip. This is a tapered hand reamer. This is a Craftsman brand, but you can get a bunch of different varieties and different tapers. I have tape on the shank of this. This is what I use. It's taped off as a stop just beyond, slightly beyond a 1/4 inch diameter hole. This, and when it might be useful to you, is if you are drilling and you slightly misalign two eyelet holes, maybe you're doing outside the waistband pancakes, and you're drilling and something goes a little bit wrong and your parts don't quite line up. One of the ways you can fix the alignment is to slightly oversize one of the holes so the parts can still align properly without putting stress on the plastic part. So if you use one of these, you can gently, I don't recommend putting a reamer in a drill or a driver. That's likely to make your hole too big too quickly. You just put one of these through the hole and give it a couple of clockwise turns, and you will increase the diameter of whatever hole you've reamed very slightly. It's pretty manageable. If you're doing it by hand, it's not going to catch and run through the part real fast. And that's a way to correct slight misalignment issues when you've got matched holes that have to line up. If you're doing inside the waistband foldovers, and you have a nice clean fold, but when you go to drill, the part shifts a little bit and they don't quite line up, ream them slightly. Typically, because, hello Ahmad, hello Bobby, hello Dan, hello Shane, thank you guys for stopping by. Typically, the factory flared side of an eyelet has a larger diameter flange than the side that we get after we flare with our die sets. And so typically, if I can, I would always correct the misalignment by lightly reaming the hole that's going to get the larger diameter, the larger flare over it, to decrease the chance that the flare might not fully cover the hole. Hello, Alan. Working on new molds on the Tormach right now. That's what I like to hear. Vern from VM Forming here. Thank you for stopping by, Vern. As usual, if you are a Kydex holster maker, please post your company name. If you're a machinist, if you're a businessman, please post your company, or businesswoman, please post your company name in the comments so I can keep track of who's who. Hello, Clark. Grabbing life, huh? Seize the day. Something. So that was today's tool tip. A tapered handheld reamer, good for slightly controlled enlarging holes to correct misaligned drilling, slightly misaligned drilling. If it's way out, this is not going to fix it. So tonight's topic is competition. But before we start on that, I would really appreciate it if all of you who are here would like the feed. If possible, share the feed. If you're in any Kydex related groups on Facebook, besides the couple where I've already posted it, please post a link so people who may not have seen this before, may not know who I am or have seen my work, have an opportunity to benefit from this discussion. Stop by and check it out. Scissortail Custom. Hello, Nick. Hi, Daniel. So competition. This gets bandied about on forums and on the Kydex groups on Facebook a bit, and generally I think that most holster makers regard local competition as a negative. And the single most common statement that I hear about local competition is somebody posts a picture or posts a link or makes a comment about a business name and says, yeah, this guy's in my backyard, he's making terrible stuff, just look at this. And it can be discouraging to have, hello Andy, it can be discouraging to have somebody else making the same kind of product trying to also sell in your local market. Hello Bobby, welcome back. But I want to try to flip this because I think there are benefits to having local competition that I want to talk about, and I want to change the way you think about them. Hello Maureen. Thank you for stopping in. My sister is here, which is cool. I want to change the way you think about your local competition because having them around can be a net gain for you. So, real quick, I'm just going to list off some reasons why having local competition can be a net gain for you, and then talk about some ways where you can actually pursue realizing that net gain. First one, I'm going to start at the most cynical and go to the most positive. First, having poor quality local competition allows you to very favorably compare your good quality gear to theirs at gun ranges, training classes, and in gun stores. If what they've got is bad, poorly thought out, uses Kydex loops, uses bad hardware, doesn't fit the gun well, doesn't retain well, if they've got glaring errors, and those are problems yours doesn't have, the presence of their holster and their marketing and their product is an opportunity for you to really show one of these things is not like the other. And that's a good thing. You want to be able, and I don't carry around a junky holster with me to say this is an old junky one and this is my really nice new one. But if you're at a gun store, you're at a gun range and somebody's got something on or they've got something on the shelf and you look at it and it's bad and you compare it to yours and yours is better, the presence of that one there is an opportunity for you to do customer education. It's an opportunity for you to do work educating potential customers on what makes a good Kydex holster. How should it fit? How, should the controls be covered or uncovered? How should it be cut? How securely should it retain the gun? How high or how low should it ride? Factors for them to consider. So the first one is you can make positive comparisons. Second one is that if there's other Kydex available in your market, especially if they are way below you on price point or significantly below you on price point, say you're selling for $55 and they're selling for $35. The advantage to you in your local market is that somebody who's either selling a different set of guns than you sell, or a different set of options and styles than you sell, or a much different price point, either high or low. But most of the times that I've run across this, guys have been complaining about somebody locally trying to undercut them, trying to sell cheap. We've all had experiences with gun owners who try to come in and nickel and dime us down to get the cheapest possible, to spend the smallest amount possible. So I had a guy message me on Facebook. He'd seen some of my holsters. He was really interested. He explained what he wanted. It was a configuration I offered. He asked me how much it cost. I quoted him $80. And he said, he emailed back, he sent me a message back. He said, "Money, that's totally cool. Do you have anything like in the $40 range?" That's a 50% undercut. A 50, basically, can you give me like a 50% discount on that? Or can you make a slightly simpler version for half as much money? And my reply back was very simple. I'm a big fan of the polite, unequivocal no. I don't hem and haw. I don't try to explain. If what they're asking for is not something I'm interested in providing, not something I'm prepared to give them, I just say, I'm sorry, I don't have anything at that price point. Thanks. Sign off. That's it. If you have somebody in your local market who is underselling you and is doing so by providing a lower quality product, thinner Kydex, handmade loops, bad hardware, whatever it is, they will actually save you headache by becoming a magnet for the low information, low budget, low quality, kind of hassle customers, low quality customers that might otherwise come to you. Have you ever referred people to your local competitor? Consider it. And it's not just, okay, this guy's going to take care of all the clients I don't want to do business with, although that may occasionally be a feature. But if somebody comes to you and they really are on a budget, like they've saved up and they bought a high point and they want to carry it because they want to have some tool to protect themselves, that's respectable. Okay? And there's nothing wrong with enabling them to do that. That's not my primary market. I don't do very much business in my local market. Most of my business is spread out more, web sales, and then wholesale out of state. I would not have any problem, and I do have at least one Codex guy basically in my backyard, and I've run across this stuff occasionally, and it's very different from mine in terms of process, the quality of mold, the quality of hardware. It's just completely different from mine. If somebody has a tight budget and they really only have $30 or $40 to spend on a holster, I wouldn't refer them to somebody who I thought did work that was unsafe. If the holster is dangerous, if it's going to fail, if it's too thin, the design is poor, or the molding is very aggressive in the trigger guard, and there's some potential for snagging there, I would never refer a potential customer, to somebody who I thought made gear that could not be used safely or that carried inherent safety risks in the design. But I don't have any problem referring somebody to another maker who makes a more affordable option because they are making a handful of holsters at a time using simple foam press that they built, and their overhead costs are very low, and therefore they can afford to sell at low volume and a low margin. I don't have any problem sending business to another company like that. And so it goes both ways. You can immediately approach your local competitor in an antagonistic way, okay? But even when you're comparing positive features on yours and potentially negative features on theirs, or that comparison of the difference between your line and their line, that doesn't necessarily need to be an attack. You can just say, this is what I offer, these are the features my holster has, this is why I've designed it this way, I feel it offers a great value for the money. This other holster has far fewer of these features, it may only do this one thing or doesn't have this, but it's priced accordingly. There is room in the market for Ferraris and for Lexus and for Honda and Toyota and Kia. There is room in the market for all these different tiers. Hello, John Flowers. And so it's not that somebody else in your market, in your local market, is necessarily a direct threat to your business. They may not be going after the same clients you go after. And you may actually be able to build a pretty cordial or friendly relationship with them. You might have an opportunity to go to a training class they're taking. You might run into them at a gun store. You might hear about them through word of mouth via friends in the area. You might meet them somewhere. Okay? You don't have to be, it doesn't have to be us against them, me against you, because we all understand that responsibly armed citizens are a net positive for our local society. I would be happy to have there be more responsible, armed, equipped citizens carrying in my neighborhood, in my town. That is a net benefit to me. There are likely to be fewer problems, and you never know. It might be somebody else who protects my family at a mall when something goes down if for some reason I'm not there. My wife goes out someplace in the middle of the day, she's got the kids, I'm not there, I'm working. If something goes down and there are other responsible armed citizens there that are able to act, that's a general benefit that I'm interested in receiving. Hello, Rob. Just waiting for you to say Volvo. I don't think there's any place in the market for Volvo, John, but I could be wrong. John is getting ready to start working for Volvo. Congrats on the new job, by the way, John. I'm excited for you. So you can compare your gear to theirs. You may be able to refer clients to them, and they may even be able to refer clients to you. So things like a very carefully designed light-bearing appendix holster may not be something your local competitor offers. If it's something that you offer, you can say, look, man, this is what I specialize in. If you get people asking about that, you don't want to make it, refer them to me. I'm happy to take those off your hands. Maybe they only make inside the waistband, and you make pancakes. That's the referral opportunity. Maybe they only make pancakes, and you make a lot of inside the waistband stuff, or you do level 2 retention, and they don't, or they do, and you don't. Wherever there are differences and your product lines don't overlap, that's an opportunity to find common ground, make cross referrals, and build a better relationship without there being any threat between you. How'd you go about trying to sell to a store that carries a local competitor's product that is low end and not selling? I'm sitting on my hands waiting to sell to a local store, but they can't sell. So where you are actually competing, probably most directly head-to-head, is in gun stores. Because gun stores are buying by proxy. They're buying what they think the end consumer is going to want. And they're going to usually buy, they're going to want a range of models. They might want a range of colors, some different attachment options. You can always, there is no rule ever. Business is business. There is no rule that you can't walk into any place that's selling a competing product to yours and show them theirs and try to make the case that you offer a better value for the money, a better product that you're going to have. They're going to have fewer hassles with warranties or returns for holsters that don't fit well, that you offer a better price point, potentially a better wholesale margin. There are a whole bunch of levels you can win on when you're talking about doing B2B wholesale sales to a gun store. Margin is one, lead time's another. If they've got somebody who they're stocking and they're currently waiting 2 to 3 weeks to get holsters back in, and you can give them 2 to 4 days in turnaround time on reasonable volume stuff, then that's a selling point. You can win. You might be able to replace the other guy's line at the shop or get in alongside it. If you get in alongside it, you may gradually edge them out. They may gradually edge you out. The gun store owner might decide to stick with them and then kick you. You have no way of knowing. Jason says, I have a major store that has carried me for over a year now. They brought in Raven and Crossbreed and still carry and sell my product very well. Jason, that's awesome. If you're head-to-head in a gun store with two of the biggest names in holsters, in Codex holsters, Crossbreed and RCS, and your stuff is still selling there, big props. Good work. Guy told me they don't want to pick up another holster company until the others sell. So, Daniel, if the gun store manager or the gun store owner does not want to fire sale and get rid of inventory that's not moving and replace it with a better product that will sell, that's not a reflection on you. That's a poor business decision on his part, and you're not responsible for it. Okay? I buy and sell a lot of stuff on Craigslist. It comes and goes. Sometimes I'll have like a fit, and for a month I'll be moving a bunch of stuff around on Craigslist. I'm always amazed by people who list things over and over and over and over and over when dropping the price 25% would mean the thing would sell immediately. Okay? Hello, John Hauptman. When I'm selling something, speed is critical, especially if I'm selling like used something. Or if I were a gun store owner and I had inventory on the shelf, say I had $1,000 wrapped up in inventory. That's $1,000 of my money that's doing no more work for me. It's just sitting there. It's sitting on the shelf collecting dust. I'm not getting it back, and I'm not realizing the profit margin that I've leveraged by bringing that inventory in. Okay? If I spend $1,000 in and I'm planning to get $1,800 out based on the margin I mark up, until I sell them, I've made no money. And so it would make much more sense. John's just saying hi. Hi, John Hauptman. See you later. Have a good evening. I think you're on vacation. Have a great vacation. I often see retail companies making decisions that baffle me because, and the same way I do on Craigslist, if I have something that I paid $400 for and I really want to get $400 back out of it, and I list it on Craigslist for $400 and 4 weeks go by and it doesn't sell. I relist it, 4 more weeks goes by, it doesn't sell. I relist it, 4 more weeks. I've had it up there for 3 months, 12 weeks straight at that price, gotten some nibbles, gotten some low balls, but nobody was willing to pay what I wanted for it. Guess what? I could leave it there for years. It might not sell. Okay? And the money I have wrapped up in it is doing nothing for me. I would rather get $300 back for it now, because that $300 frees me up to go buy end mills, buy plastic, buy a new tool, get a better drill press, whatever it is I need to do, buy a bigger vacuum pump, replace a broken heat press. That money, if I can get it moving again, that money can do work for me. If it's just locked up in stuff, it's not doing work. And so I'm baffled oftentimes by retail, especially in gun stores, where I see them sitting on inventory that's taking forever to move, and they're holding on to it because they're unwilling to sacrifice margin to get it off their shelf, to get their money back out of it. Even if you take a loss and you flip that money back into some other product that sells at a profit margin, you know what happens when you sell at profit margin? You make that lost money back. So other benefits to local competition. A surprising number of people in the gun community are still largely unaware of what Kydex is and what it does, and why holsters are made out of it. Lots and lots of people are still leather only. And it's not even just older people. There are lots and lots of young people, gun owners in their 20s and 30s, who are unaware of Kydex. Okay? If you have a local competitor who's using the same material you are, and they're doing any good customer education work, they're putting their product in front of people who haven't seen it before, that creates a net benefit to you by enlarging the market pool of people in your area who are at least aware such a product exists. Okay? So that's a benefit to you. I think my comments may have frozen. Last time it went without a hitch. I'm going to go make a little adjustment and see if I can clean that up a bit and get my connection stronger. 1 second. Opening my garage door to let a little bit more of the Wi-Fi's in. Oh, Ben Miller said new comment, and it showed up, so I guess I'm back. So they have the potential to enlarge your market opportunity by actually educating and opening people's eyes to the existence of Kydex holsters as a product. That is, that's a benefit. Other benefits. They might just be a friend. Like you might find out that somebody else making holsters in your area is a totally cool dude, and you guys hit it off well. And somebody else in your local market, if they do really good work, if you have somebody in your area who is at least on par with you, then that opens up a whole bunch of doors. Yes, in a sense, you're competing directly, but you can even if you're making similar products with a similar quality level and at a similar price point, I wouldn't have any problem if I was selling in my local market at gun stores and somebody else whose product I completely respected, it was top notch. If they approached me and said, look, I'm interested in selling around here too, are there any stores you're not currently selling to? I'm going to market to them first. You could totally have a gentleman's agreement between several Kydex companies so that they work the market and divvy it up. This is, I don't know if you guys have seen A Beautiful Mind, but it's a little bit of a cliche, but it's kind of Nash's equilibrium. The 4 girls walk into the room, the really gorgeous blonde and the 3 less attractive women. If all the guys in the room go for the blonde, only one of them gets her or none of them gets her, all the other girls are stiffed and are not interested in the guys after that. But if all the guys in the room ignore the blonde and each goes for just a piece, one of the other girls, then there's a chance that everybody gets a date and a dance that evening and doesn't get hung out to dry. Door closed, no signal. Door open, I get Wi-Fi. Yeah, John Keller. I actually bought a Wi-Fi repeater. It's right over here, but it's not accomplishing as much as I'd hoped. If the person in your area does good work, guess what? You may be able to get overflow business from them, or they may be able to handle overflow business from you. What about this? You get a huge order, a big wholesale order, or some Instagram influencer picks up your stuff, really likes it. That social media marketing work you put in 6 or 8 months ago is starting to pay off. Traffic on your web store is up. Products are moving. And you start running out of room. You start running out of bandwidth to keep up. You know what? If you've got somebody else in your area who's in the same kind of community, like, they're vacuum forming, they're making good stuff, they're using good quality hardware from IFI or DIY or knife kits, like, they're at that level. And if you just said, dude, I'm drowning here, I got to make 30 more black shield inside the waistband holsters. Can I lend you my mold and have you press 30 of those? And, here's the tracing template. Can you press those, drill them, cut them, and I'll pay you X amount of money? Like, you have the opportunity to actually do business with your local competitor, B2B, in a way that helps both of you. It gives him more work, it lightens your lead times, it lightens the stress on you, or it may go the other way. Maybe he gets an awesome, huge order. Maybe Travis Haley picks up his stuff and pimps it everywhere. and your other local guy just totally blows up. He's like, God, I got thousands of orders. I can't keep up. And you're like, well, how about you outsource some to me? I'll take over all your G43s, all your Shields, and all your Beretta PX Storm subcompacts. I'll take them all. And you get a whole bunch of new business into your shop by working with him. Okay? It's not just the case. Local competition is not a zero-sum game. It isn't the case that any sale he gets was a sale he had to take from you, and any sale you get was a sale you had to take from him. That's not the way it works. Okay? You can actually expand the market, reach new people who haven't been reached. Maybe a new gun store opens. That's new market. There are lots and lots of ways to increase your business without thinking you have to be taking things out from under him in order to get sales for yourself. So those are a couple of levels on which having local competition, local kydex shops is actually really an interesting opportunity for you to grow. Okay? If there are IEPA or USPSA matches in your area, you could, talk to the club owners, talk to the range owners, get with your other kydex guy, and share a booth. It's a crazy idea. Like, I'm going to bring all my outside the waistband and light bearing stuff. You bring all your inside the waistband stuff. You bring knife sheaths. We can work it out ahead of time so we're not quite overlapping. We can both take custom orders. We'll be friendly about it. Like, you could go and do that. But it may be the case that you've got somebody in your backyard who's just totally awful. If that's the case, put them out of business. Okay? If you've got somebody in your area that's making a really, really terrible product, it's not safe, it's poor quality, breaks a lot, lead times are awful, customers are unhappy. There's a shop here in Indianapolis that has a terrible reputation. I'm not even sure they're still around. But every time I ran into them, my mind was boggled. They were like 40% above me in price and below me, clearly below me in quality. And they were making tons of sales. Now, I don't know what to say about that. Like, I wouldn't feel good charging what they charged for their rigs. It was just excessive. It's just excessive. At that price point, even with the quality of the work that I do, I would not feel I was offering a good value. I would feel that I was being greedy and was trying to, beat people over the head at that price. But if you got online and looked on forums, 9 times out of 10, any thread that mentioned them included the words, worst customer service ever. And in that kind of case, if they're doing bad business and they're harming gun owners in your area by making bad products that break, that don't function well, or the customers pay and it takes like 12 or 18 or 20 weeks to get their stuff and it's not right, you can aggressively market against them. And maybe you should consider doing that. It's not necessarily a great play. It could be. You could find clever ways to directly market against them in your local area. And this is another thing. Social media marketing, people tend to think of social media, I tend to think of social media as being general marketing to the world, general marketing to the web. And there are interesting opportunities, especially with Facebook, if you're doing targeted ads, where you can very carefully target people in your area. If there are certain guns that are popular in your area, like say you sell a lot of Glock 19s on your web store, but when it comes to local sales, for some reason, SR9s and SR9Cs are really hot in your area. Well, it would make sense if you were going to create an ad and you were going to, put $100 against it and run it on Facebook, and you were going to do targeted marketing. If you're going to target your local area, which gun should you put in the ad photo? Glock 19 or SR9? If you get info on what's popular in your area, if you talk to gun store owners and say, hey, I'm a holster maker in your area, even if you're not currently doing business with them, if they carry your stuff, hopefully you have a candid relationship with them, and just say, look, what are you selling a lot of? And then in addition to having your stuff for that gun on their shelf, you can actually target your marketing, to what is most commonly carried in your local area. If you're down south in the summer and it's hot, your marketing should probably show really small guns. You probably don't want to be, I would say you probably don't want to be putting a Desert Eagle on your ad, but if you're Bobby Jackson, maybe you do. I don't know. CZP07 is hot in my area, says Jack Boone. Yeah, the more information you have about what's actually selling and what's actually popular in your local area, the more effectively you can market there. And it may even be that in your local area, you may even see enough dividends, enough ROI from radio ads, maybe, depending on where you are, maybe billboards are affordable, depends. There may be ways for you to use traditional, non-digital marketing effectively in your local area. There was a great example of some local direct against marketing. So there's a race for county treasurer right in my area. And the Republican candidate, her billboard, and this actually went viral on Facebook and Instagram and a few other places, it said, gave her name and said, running for county treasurer, and there were only 2 points, big lettering. It said, I know how to count and I won't steal. That was her ad for county treasurer. I know how to count and I won't steal. Okay? Those are the direct criticisms of the previous treasurer. Apparently didn't know how to count, never kept the book balanced, whole bunch of money missing, and embezzled stuff. Okay? The new store in my yard is going to be pushing SCCY, car, and Springfield. Ugh. Well, Shane, you can either say ugh, or you can take advantage of what's popular in your local market and leverage it to try to build your business. That's up to you. Nobody says you have to sell locally. Lots of businesses don't. A number of businesses pretty much only sell locally. Okay? There is no one size fits all for this. You do you. If there are things that your local market would work with, that you could sell well, but you don't want to make them, that's up to you. I'm not going to tell you what you have to do. But there are some strategies that are more effective marketing locally and some that are more effective marketing generally. Shane, if your gun store is carrying those 3 lines and you don't want to support them, it just means you're probably not going to have any traction at your local gun store. That may be a big downside to you, or it may be largely irrelevant. If the majority of your sales are web-based, you've got a good social media game, you're getting sales from all over the country because of your Canic push, whatever you're doing, you might not need your local gun store sales. Not everybody needs local gun store sales. Tons of SIG around here, says Mark Lancaster. Yeah. I was talking to a holster maker in California, and this is true of a number of states where there are magazine capacity restrictions. Like, almost nobody carries Glock 17s in California because there's no point. If you can't put the extra ammo in it, there's no reason to carry the size. And so he said what was really popular in his area was all the super compact, like officer size 1911s, overwhelmingly Kimbers in his area, and Kimber Solos. And he was just groaning about this. And I totally respect that. If he doesn't want to make holsters for those guns, it's his business. If your local market is really saturated with gun models you don't want to support, maybe you live in Waltherville, USA. I don't know. If you don't want to support them, you don't have to. Nobody's twisting your arm. Okay? But, here's the but. If there's something in your local market that you decide to just not support, you're just not going to make for it, you know what will probably happen? Somebody else will. If you leave a whole bunch of white space, a whole bunch of market that you're not trying to fill, you're leaving it alone, you're ignoring it consciously in your area, then there's a very good chance that somebody else, if they're thinking, is going to look at that and say, wow, I could make lots of Walther holsters. Maybe I could build a business on that. And, If they decide to niche market, if they go into the white space that you're not covering, the two of you can coexist happily. You have somebody to refer all those Walter orders to. They have somebody to refer all their SIG orders to if you do SIGs, whatever it is. And so I find, for me, in my opinion, that it's much more interesting for me to look at the market and pick an area and go deep than it is to try to go wide and cover everything. Cover every gun model, every light, every carry option, every attachment style, tuckable and non-tuckable, ambi or side specific. Like, I'm just not into it. It's too much stuff. I'm not going to be able to do it all well. And I also don't have the breadth of experience to actually design it all well. I'm not left-handed. I mean, I can carry and have sometimes carried left-handed, or, been that guy who was dual-wielding 19s. I've done that. But, there are realities to left-handed shooters working with certain guns because of the location and layout of the controls that I'm not intimately aware of and not proficient at because I'm not a left-handed shooter. There are plenty of guns that I have very little experience with. I've handled them. I may have shot them, maybe not. But I've not carried them. I've not used them extensively. I don't do a lot of tuckable carry. I offer some tuckable options, and I have sometimes carried tuckable. Generally, I prefer and recommend and carry non-tuckable holsters. If you take 2 minutes each and make, every different style and wear one each, for 5 minutes, you're not going to have the breadth of experience to really refine those designs. And if you spend, if it's flavor of the day, if you have a different holster, a different gun, a different carry position for every day of the week, like, that's bad. And there are customers who do that too. And it's concerning. I won't tell them they can't. It's their life. It's their gun, their holster. If they want to buy 7 different holsters for 7 different guns, or they want a bunch of different colors, or they want tuckable and they want non, they want one with an RMR cut and one without, and they want one with full sweat and one with partial, okay. But I don't incentivize people to do that. And you may find there's kind of a tragedy of the commons factor sometimes when it comes to local competition. You may find that if there's something somebody asks for that they really shouldn't have made, it just shouldn't be made. Nobody should make it. If you, because you have integrity, refuse to make it, it's not uncommon that your local competitor will say, oh yeah, he couldn't do that, I'll make it. Look, you know what you can do, you know what you can't do, you know what you will do, and you know what you won't do. There are lots of things I've said no to that were completely within the range of my abilities. I could make it, but I won't. If a local competitor talked trash about me, and was like, I'm not sure how they would talk. I mean, they could talk trash about my designs. They could talk trash about my prices. They could talk trash about my website. Who knows? They could talk trash about all kinds of things. They could talk trash. I don't offer colors. That's right. 2016, I offer no colors. You can have it in black, or you can have it in black. And if you really beg and plead, you can have it in black. If they want to trash talk me for not giving the customer what they want, great. You give them that weird graveyard green skull slimy print. Fine. I'm not going to. Not interested. So if you have somebody locally who's marketing against you, they're going after you on price, they're going after you trying to tear down the impression, the perception of your quality. They're trying to tear you down based on lead time. Maybe you've got a successful business. Lead times have gotten a little bit much. And they're marketing like they can deliver instantly because you take forever. Maybe you try to fix those things. Hello, Amanda. Thank you for stopping by. Maybe you try to fix those things. Maybe your local competitor actually points out a serious problem you have. Maybe lead times have gotten out of control. Maybe there's something that you could be, maybe should be supporting that you don't. Your local competitor really can prod you and push you to actually up your business game in directions that are good. If you had a lousy Web 1.0 website, and the order page had a contact us box, and you had to put in an email and explain what you wanted, and there were no drop downs, no pictures, no nothing, email me and I'll get back to you, and then you tell me what you want and we'll talk about the specs, and then I'll send you a PayPal invoice, and then you send me your shipping address, and I'll handwrite a label, and I'll ship it to you. You know, if that was how you were doing business, and your local competitor was a young guy with web experience who set up a really streamlined store that ran well, that had upsells, that had a well-functioning cart system, that gave associated items like, hey, you just bought a Springfield holster, here's Next D magazine carrier, you know, then that would push you to up your game in ways that are necessary. I need to be prodded. Local competition can help me. It can actually motivate me to improve my game, because if I don't, I will lose. If the local competition is better than me, I deserve to lose. Alan says he's leaning toward all black. I was so happy when I went all black. It just made it so much easier. I could buy in huge bulk. I didn't have to worry about inventory. I didn't have to worry about running out of some color or messing up some piece I had a small quantity of left. It's just not worth it. Chris says I was going to offer black and FDE. If I was going to offer a color, it'd be gray. I like gray. I think it looks slick. It like nice crisp lines show through gray, and it's a more neutral color against lighter clothing. I do think there are advantages to certain colors in certain clothing environments. If you're carrying inside the waistband with a light colored undershirt and you've got black gun, black holster, you know, there's more of a chance that's going to show up if your shirt tail catches or something happens and for some reason it gets glimpsed. I generally wear darker colored undershirts, and that's not an accident. Part of the reason for that is it makes stuff under my cover garment a little less visible. Tyler from Go Hard is here. And hello, Tony Martinez. Late but here. Yeah, you are late, but you are here. If you haven't already liked the feed, please like the feed. Please share the feed. I've got a little bit of time left. I'm not in a huge hurry to get off tonight. It's been a busy week. This is cool. I launched a new product this week. This is the Morpheus Solo cigar tray. Pretty fun. Been machining these out of billet aluminum. And although it's not up on my store yet, the Morpheus Double. So the Solo tray is designed basically for a solo smoker. You just want to like sit on your porch or sit in your shop and have a cigar. This is more for like your deck or your study. You're going to have a friend over, or you just want to have, you know, an ashtray out in a public area where you smoke. You maybe got a smoking room because you're that baller. But having a larger area, and it's got these totally awesome toolpath textures, machined out of billet 6061, super shiny, really fun to make. I've been having a great time doing those on my brother this week. It's really fun to save piles of aluminum chips in the chip tray at the back of the machine, as opposed to those usual just like piles and piles and piles and piles and piles of HDPE. After a while, I get burnt out on machining HDPE. It's like cutting air. And I really want to hear those tools have to work. Have to hear that machine work, use that torque. Eric Powell says, I want one and don't even smoke. Yeah. If you don't smoke, if you're not into cigars, cool. I don't smoke cigars that often, but I enjoy them when I do. Thank you, Ben Miller. I appreciate that. I think they look awesome too. So this one is on henryholsters.com, but it's a secret hidden product. You can only find it by hopping a link or Googling it. You can't, if you go to my landing page, my front page, there is no way to click through to the cigar tray. It's hidden. So if you want it, it's henryholsters.com/product, singular, product, /Morpheus. Shane, I'm not going to comment on that. There's a number of other products in development. There's even a few more versions of this tray that I haven't marketed yet. We'll see if I decide to bring them to market. It'll depend on how this initial launch goes. So local competition really can be the spur that goads you on to improving your business. It might be what forces you to upgrade your process so you can drive your lead times down. It may be what forces you to make improvements to your process because you just have to be able to make each unit faster so you can drop the price a little bit, or you need to make a change to your process. Maybe you go to vacuum forming because your local gun store needs more volume. And if you can't get them more volume, they're going to jump ship and go with your local competitor who can do more volume. There's a lot of reasons. If somebody's pushing you, if I'm running a race and you're running alongside me and you start pulling away, okay, that motivates me. I want to beat you. Okay? If your local competitor is upping the ante and they've got game, that drives me to level up. That should drive you to level up. That's not a downside. That's a positive. If the environment around you in your business forces you to adapt, improve, or die, guess what? Adapt, improve, grow, stronger, faster, better. It's great. With a stick. I'm not talking about Jerry Gomez. So local competition. A lot of positives. Yeah, there are negatives. Yeah, the person in your area may really be a pain. Yeah, be the bigger man. Let it roll off you. Just, I don't believe that any press is good press. Somebody may lie about you and trash talk you, but you know what? If your product is good, if you back it up, you want to beat them with a stick, yeah. If your product is good, if you back it up and you honor your warranty, if you have integrity in your business, you take care of your customers, you don't overpromise and underdeliver, you don't jack them around on price, okay? If you do good work and you stand behind it, that's the truth. And even if somebody's lying about you to try to tear you down, you know it's true, and your customers know it's true, and you can't change the other guy. So don't sweat it. Don't sweat things that you can't change in your local environment. Okay? But if somebody's trash talking you, if you go into the gun store and it's like, hey, I heard some stuff about some shady business, and you say, look, that actually didn't happen. You may have a case. If a customer comes to you and they're a problem customer, and you end up not giving them what they want, you either cancel their order, or it just turns out bad. They may be disgruntled. They may go to your local competitor and badmouth you. They may make stuff up. They may lie, exaggerate. There may be tons of hyperbole. They may just be straight up fabrication. You know what? You can't undo it. But you can continue to operate with integrity, make a great product, make it on a good lead time, stand behind your warranty, and, run an ethical quality business. That's good. Questions anybody else has? I'm going to scroll back for a minute. Make sure there weren't any particular questions I missed. Black is the new black, says David Spivey. I agree. Black is the new black. Black will always be the new black. Roger Perez says he sells a bunch of Taurus in his area. Taurus is one of those brands that a lot of guys probably don't like to do. And so if you do Taurus, if you're willing to work with Taurus, there's market for you there. And I wouldn't say that nobody should carry Taurus. The same I wouldn't say nobody should ever carry High Point. I mean, if your options are no gun or a High Point, get a High Point. I mean, don't carry it in a drop leg that's slung down by your knee, but if your options are don't have a gun or have a High Point, have a High Point. What else is going on here? I've been keeping my brother mill busy this week. I've done some shopping, been looking at some lathes. I have some ideas for some things I want to do on a lathe. Roger Perez says, yeah, Taurus is a market for him. This is one of the other things. Maybe you're the local competition. Maybe somebody else is the old dog. Maybe somebody else is the established shop in your area, and you're the Johnny-come-lately. Maybe you're the newcomer, and maybe you're the one who's sort of inserting yourself into the market where somebody else is already established. Okay? Well, you can market against them. Or you can look very intentionally. You can maybe even, here's a crazy idea. Find out who your local competitor is, cold call them, and offer to take them out to lunch. Buy them some beer and steak, and just try to get things off on a good foot. If you've started off and things are not on a good foot, and your local competition knows who you are and doesn't like you, call them up and offer to buy them lunch or dinner. Take them out. Have some beer and some steak. and just get to know them. Like, you can actually build those bridges. And, it may not work. It might work. It might be worth it. You might think it after a while. You might think, well, that wasn't worth it. But hey, you got to eat beer and steak. So if you're the newcomer, one way you can gain some market share without really threatening the other established shop is if they don't offer something, and you find white space and you can build business offering something that doesn't compete with anything in their line. Great, do it. Yeah, it's a fun one. Work like you're the third monkey on the ramp to Noah's Ark and it just started to rain. If you hustle, you can, this is the work smarter or work harder. Not the case. Work harder and work smarter. If you work harder and smarter than your local competitor, unless lightning strikes, you'll win. Okay? If you offer a better product and you stand behind it and you work and work and work and your customer service is awesome, if you work smarter and harder and you deliver and deliver and deliver and deliver, you'll win. They won't beat you. Okay? They might not go away. They might hang around. Or you might put them out of business. Maybe they close up shop. Maybe they move away. Maybe they just stop doing gun holsters and focus on knife sheaths. Maybe they stop doing knife sheaths and focus on tomahawks. Maybe they stop doing tomahawks and start focusing on wallets. Who knows? But if you can find white space, if there are other shops in your area and there are things that are sellable that they don't make, that you can make, that are worth making, work in the white space. Build your business there. Where there's, find that path of least resistance and build there. Build really aggressively there. Maybe you co-sponsor some events. I talked about going to gun shows, maybe sharing a table. Maybe you invite your local competitor to join an IDPA squad with you. Maybe you guys become shooting buddies. Maybe, there are lots and lots of ways to build bridges there. Yeah, maybe you're both former military. Maybe you're both veterans. Maybe you were both, maybe you both grew up in New Mexico. Whatever the commonality is, find some common ground and build some bridges there. Roger says, I'm the new guy every 3 years. Being military. So you can work to build good relationships with competitors in your area. And those good relationships can benefit you and benefit them and still benefit you. Local competition is not a zero-sum game. It's not always kill or be killed. Sometimes it can be, but it isn't necessarily. And you don't have to knock them out in order to grow your business. Grow your business. Hello, Tony. I bet Tony is... So this is the other factor in seeing Tony come in. If you're a shop that has employees, this is a theme that I've heard a number of times. Tony reminded me of it because he's got a bunch of employees. One kind of trope that appears is a person comes, they want a job, they work for you for a year, they leave, and they set up shop locally, competing directly against you, usually undercutting you on price. Look, you can't do anything about that except not have hired them in the first place. This is constantly the battle that employees and employers are caught up in. Okay? If you're an employee, you're learning on the job. Otherwise, you're not increasing your value to the employer. If you're an employer, you want to be investing in your employees. You want them to be working faster. You want them to be working smarter. You want them to be working harder. You want them to understand what's going on in the shop to be able to contribute as much as possible. If you give somebody your secrets, if you give them the info, they have the info. You can't take it back out of their brain. Okay? Yeah, and local competition, says John Keller, is an opportunity to pay it forward. Maybe you got help from somebody when you were starting out. Now you can give help to somebody else when they're starting out. Yeah, Clark. NDAs, non-disclosures, and non-competes. You can do it, but it's not quite like patent pending, but it's similar. Like, it's patent and trademark stuff. Like, if somebody ripped off my logo and ripped off my business name and tried to impersonate me, I'd consider that fraudulent, and I'd tell them to stop. But, going after somebody over an NDA, unless humongous amounts of money are involved, okay? Going after somebody over a non-compete or an NDA is going to be so much more hassle and so much more money out of your pocket than it will possibly be worth. I just don't see the upside to it. Ben Miller, speaking of employees, did you end up hiring somebody? That got soft pedaled a little bit, still working on it. I don't have anybody in the shop yet. I've had some temporary guys coming in to help with particular things that needed to get done when there's a lot of like, do 300 of this. But don't have the steady employee in yet. Sometimes the paper could be worth it, says Clark. Yeah, it may be. It may be the fact that if you're an employer, having the employee sign an NDA and sign a non-compete with a time frame, maybe like 12 months and a 50-mile radius, whatever the details are, it may be worth it because some employees will respect that or will at least be afraid of it if they leave and will consider not going into business competing with you just because, yeah, Connor says good fences make good neighbors. The paperwork is intimidating, which is most of the NDA value, says John Hoffman. So yeah, I think that it's not a bad idea to have that if you've got a bunch of employees, but I would not bank on an NDA and a non-compete, giving you a nuclear option to automatically shut down your local competitor if one of your former employees goes out and tries to compete with you. You probably won't really be able to bring the hammer down in the way you might imagine you could. So that was the last major point I had, was about paying it forward. Do pay it forward. If you know things, there are other people in your area who make stuff that's of interest to you, or you make stuff that's of interest to them, and you can build a community that's mutually supporting, where you can learn stuff from them and teach stuff to them, build it. I'd rather have friends than enemies in the Kydex world. I'd be happy to have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of friendly competition. Almost all you guys here watching the feed on some level are my competition. And I'm taking time away from my production. I could be making money right now. I could be running the mill and the router and the vacuum former, but I'm not. I'm sitting here, I'm on Facebook Live, and I'm sharing what I'm thinking about. I'm trying to give tips that are helpful. I'm showing you tools that I use and explaining how I use them. Like, if I really believed it was a zero-sum game and to survive I had to cut your throat, there'd be no way I'd be doing this. I've offered several local guys to stop by and check out my tiny shop, says Clark. Yeah, I've had a handful of Kydex guys stop by. There aren't that many in my area. There's a handful in Indy, but only a few have stopped by. So, if you are within driving distance of Bloomington, Indiana, if you're in Ohio or you're in Kentucky or you're in Illinois or you're in Indiana and you want to come check out my shop, yeah. DM me on Instagram, send me a message here on Facebook, email me, orders@henryholsters.com. I'd be happy to have you stop by. Seriously, Clark Trost, I've got this heat press platen here, and you could just pick it up, and that would be great. I'd love not to have to build a complicated cardboard packaging monstrosity for it. You are in Anderson, would love to stop by. That's right, Nehemiah. I forgot you are in Anderson, Indiana. Yeah, Nehemiah, stop by. I'd love to have you come down here. It'd be totally fun. That way I could catch you and stuff you in a box and bury you in the backyard, and there'd be one less competitor in my state. So, a lot of how stuff goes between you and your local competitors depends on you and how you choose to handle it. If you try to start strife, if you try to create conflict, you'll get conflict. If you try to keep things smooth, keep communication there, just like if you try to build bridges, you can build bridges. Clark says, yeah, I can grab pizza in Indy at my favorite place and stop up. Chris says, I'm far away from everybody. Yeah, I'm trying to think if I've ever visited anybody else's Kydex shop. I don't think I've actually been a visitor in anybody else's. I don't think I've been to a single other person's Kydex shop, ever. Which is amazing. Jace Powell, you are late. I'm about to leave. Thank you for stopping by. If you're a cigar guy, I don't have very many of these made. I'm going to be running some more in a couple of weeks. But if you like them, grab one off henryholsters.com/product/Morpheus, or you can hop one of the links on one of my Facebook posts on my company page. So that's pretty much all I had. Hey, what's up, homies, says Jace. We've been talking about you. You're everybody's competition. We're all going to put you out of business, apparently. John says, I've never been to anybody else's shop, but I've had a lot of visitors. Yeah. So here's something cool. In a couple weeks, John Hauptman is going to be here at my shop. And I'm going to start talking that up now because we're going to be doing some Facebook Live broadcasts, shooting some video for YouTube, and he's going to be here working in my shop for a couple days, which is going to be totally awesome. I don't know, John, maybe we should schedule like an open shop and have a beer night and have guys, you know, if they're within a couple hours and want to stop by and hang out with you and hang out with me and see my shop and, you know, just chill. Maybe we should do that. That could be fun. So that's going to be it for me. I had to, I've got a nice cigar to smoke tonight, so I'm going to get off here and light that boy up. And thank you for spending your Friday evening with me. I appreciate your time and attention. It's a pleasure for me to be able to do these Facebook Live broadcasts and have you guys stop by and spend time here with me. So thank you very much. As usual, I will go through and answer any questions that I didn't get to in the video. I'll answer them in text. And then keep an eye on my Instagram and Facebook pages for updates on when the next one will come up. If there are particular things that you would be interested in having the topic for next time, if you have topic ideas or questions that you want to have answered, please post them up here in the comments. I will read all of them every time. And it may be that your question or your comment will be the seed for the next topic. Nick Sags was late again. Thank you very much, guys. Have a great night.